I think, honestly, this is one of those decisions made where you kind of have to step back and immediately start asking bigger picture questions about a front office. I think there's a lot of reasons that you can understand this decision in an absolute vacuum, like if you just look at one day in the life of a team. But when you look at the decision making over the last year, hiring a GM after Weatherspoon, giving her less than a year in the position, the Clea Copper trade, the Marina Mabrey trade, there's just so many pieces that don't really add up to this being a functional year where you could really determine if a coach is ready to be a WNBA head coach or not.
The Chicago Sky made headlines recently for something no one saw coming. Their head coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, was abruptly fired after a chaotic and controversial season. But this wasn't your typical coaching change. It was a shockwave that shook the entire WNBA. Players were in disbelief. Some cried, some were relieved, and others stayed quiet as the locker room spiraled into chaos. Weatherspoon, a WNBA legend, had only coached the Chicago Sky for one season. So why the sudden firing? What's behind this move that left the entire league buzzing? The truth involves accusations of cheating, allegations of stat padding, and concerns over player safety, particularly when it comes to protecting one of the WNBA's brightest stars, Caitlin Clark. We're about to break down everything that led to Weatherspoon's firing, the fallout with players like Angel Reese, and the shocking statistics that exposed a dangerous pattern in the league. And of course, we'll look at how this impacts the future of the Chicago Sky and the WNBA as a whole. Before we get into the full story, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on updates about all the WNBA drama and news. Let's jump right in. The firing of Teresa Weatherspoon caught everyone off guard. She wasn't just another coach. As a former WNBA star, she carried with her a reputation of being tough, dedicated, and a proven winner. This was supposed to be her chance to bring that same energy and winning mentality to a Chicago Sky team that was looking to rebuild after several lackluster seasons. So, what went wrong? The answer lies in a perfect storm of problems. While the season started with high hopes, it quickly descended into chaos. From internal locker room disputes to accusations of cheating by stat padding, the environment around the Chicago Sky became toxic. Players were frustrated, results weren't coming, and a growing disconnect between Weatherspoon and her team was impossible to ignore. Weatherspoon was brought in as part of the Chicago Sky's effort to rebuild after their once dominant team started to fade following their 2021 championship. But as the season dragged on, it became clear that things were not going according to plan. The team finished the season with a record of 13 wins and 27 losses, missing the playoffs for the first time in years. For a team with the Sky's history, that was unacceptable. Adding to the tension, the team's poor performance wasn't just a result of bad luck or injuries. There were deeper issues at play. Reports began to surface of locker room turmoil, with players clashing over Weatherspoon's coaching methods and a lack of cohesion on the court. Some players felt Weatherspoon wasn't properly communicating with them, while others believed she was more focused on boosting individual statistics than helping the team win games. For the Chicago Sky organization, it became clear that change was necessary. But was it too soon to let go of a coach who had only been given one season to prove herself? Some believe it was a knee-jerk reaction, while others argue it was a necessary move to protect the future of the team. Let's rewind and take a look at how things got so bad, so fast. To understand how things fell apart for Weatherspoon, we have to first look at her background. As a player, Weatherspoon was a force on the court. A 5-time WNBA All-Star and 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, she led the New York Liberty to 4 WNBA Finals appearances. Her leadership and gritty style of play earned her a reputation as one of the league's toughest competitors. One of her most iconic moments came in the 1999 WNBA Finals when she hit a half-court buzzer beater to win Game 2. It was a shot that remains etched in WNBA history. Moments like these earned her the adoration of fans and solidified her status as one of the greatest defensive players in women's basketball history. After her playing career, Weatherspoon transitioned into coaching, first taking a role as a player development coach for the New Orleans Pelicans in the NBA. Her experience in player development made her an intriguing candidate for head coaching positions, particularly for teams that were rebuilding. The Chicago Sky took notice and hired her as head coach in 2023, hoping she could bring her defensive acumen and leadership skills to a young, developing team. But as the saying goes, what works as a player doesn't always translate to coaching. While Weatherspoon's playing career was defined by toughness and grit, those qualities didn't necessarily resonate with today's generation of WNBA players. The expectations on her were sky high, but as the season progressed, it became clear that she was struggling to adapt to the complex dynamics of being a head coach in the WNBA. Her lack of head coaching experience quickly became apparent. Despite Weatherspoon's best efforts, her relationship with the team started to deteriorate. Her no-nonsense approach, while effective in her playing days, didn't sit well with a roster that required a more nuanced coaching style, one that could balance player development with building a winning team culture.
The team faced significant challenges from the outset. A lack of draft assets due to previous trades left the Sky with limited options to bolster their roster. Injuries to key players, including promising freshman Camila Cardoso at the start of the season and Angel Reese at the end.
From the outset, Weatherspoon faced challenges that made her job difficult. The Chicago Sky's roster was thin, having been gutted by previous trades that left them without key draft assets. This lack of depth made it difficult for Weatherspoon to build a competitive team. On top of that, injuries plagued the Sky throughout the season. Camila Cardoso, promising rookie center, went down with an injury early in the season. Just as she began to return to form, another young star, Angel Reese, suffered a season-ending injury toward the end of the year. These injuries left the Sky scrambling to fill gaps in their lineup. Reese, in particular, was supposed to be a cornerstone of the Sky's rebuild. Her transition from college stardom at LSU to the WNBA was eagerly anticipated, and she had already shown flashes of brilliance before her injury. Reese's absence was a crushing blow to a team that was already struggling to find consistency. Despite these setbacks, Weatherspoon was praised for her focus on player development, helping young talent like Cardoso and Chennedy Carter flourish. Carter, who had taken a year off from the league, returned under Weatherspoon's tutelage and became a significant offensive threat, averaging 17.5 points per game. Her development under Weatherspoon was one of the few bright spots in a season marred by disappointment. But for every step forward, there were 2 steps back. The team's overall record collapsed, finishing with just 13 wins and 27 losses, 5 fewer wins than the previous season, and they missed the playoffs for the first time since 2018. This sharp decline raised serious questions about Weatherspoon's ability to coach at the professional level. As the losses mounted, tensions within the team began to rise. Rumors of a disconnect between Weatherspoon and her players started circulating, and the once promising partnership between coach and team began to unravel. One of the most shocking aspects of Weatherspoon's tenure as coach was the accusation of stat padding. Stat padding is when players or teams manipulate their statistics in a way that makes individual performances look better, even if it doesn't help the team win. In the case of the Chicago Sky, several players were accused of chasing individual stats over team success. The stat padding scandal didn't just involve isolated incidents. Throughout the season, there were multiple reports of players being kept in games longer than necessary, often in situations where the team had no chance of winning. This led to suspicions that certain players were prioritizing their personal statistics over the success of the team. For example, there were instances where a player was left on the floor late in blowout games, even when the outcome was already decided. In one particular game, a bench player was allowed to stay on the court to secure a double-double, even though the team was down by over 20 points. This raised eyebrows and led to internal friction between players who were focused on winning and those who were more concerned with padding their individual stats. The mid-season trade of Marina Mabrey, one of the Sky's most reliable three-point shooters, only added fuel to the fire. Although the exact reasons for her trade request were never made public, there were strong hints that she was unhappy with the team's priorities. Mabrey's departure left the Sky struggling to space the floor effectively, and their offense became disjointed. As rumors of stat padding began to swirl, the tension in the locker room grew. Some players resented the focus on individual accomplishments, while others felt pressure to perform for their future contracts and endorsements. The team dynamic shifted, and instead of playing for each other, players were increasingly looking out for themselves. As if the Chicago Sky's internal issues weren't enough, the cheating scandal took a dark turn when it was revealed that a shocking number of flagrant fouls in the WNBA were committed against Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark, and a significant portion of them came from the Chicago Sky. Caitlin Clark, who had taken the WNBA by storm with her record-breaking rookie season, became an unwitting target of physical play. According to a staggering statistic, 80% of the flagrant fouls committed against Clark came from games against the Chicago Sky. This revelation sparked outrage across the league. Clark's rise to stardom had been meteoric. Known for her long-range shooting, her leadership on the court, and her ability to make clutch plays, Clark quickly became the face of the WNBA's next generation. Her rookie season saw her smash numerous records, including the most points by a rookie and the highest average viewership for a single player. Fans were packing arenas to watch her play, and her jersey became the top seller in the league. But Clark's success also made her a target. The Chicago Sky, a team known for its physicality, seemed to be going out of its way to stop Clark by any means necessary. Game footage revealed a disturbing pattern of aggressive, sometimes dangerous fouls committed against her. These weren't just hard defensive plays. They were flagrant fouls that crossed the line into unsportsmanlike conduct. The June 1st game was already contentious. Clark had been lighting up the scoreboard, dropping threes from deep and setting up her teammates for easy baskets. The Fever were leading comfortably when the foul occurred. As Clark was attempting to inbound the ball, Carter lunged in aggressively, knocking Clark off balance. While the foul wasn't initially flagged as a major incident, it set the tone for what was to come in later games. During the June 16th game, Angel Reese went for a block on Clark but ended up hitting her in the head. The foul was reviewed and upgraded to a flagrant one, further highlighting the physicality and danger of the play. Reese, in her defense, claimed it was a basketball move, but the footage told a different story. Fans and analysts couldn't help but wonder if the Sky were intentionally pushing the limits of physical play when it came to Clark. This pattern of aggressive fouls didn't stop there. 2 more flagrant fouls were committed against Clark by the Sky in later matchups, raising questions about why this specific team was responsible for such a disproportionate number of dangerous plays against one player. The pattern of fouling became so pronounced that even casual WNBA fans started noticing it. Social media exploded with posts from fans pointing out the frequency of these fouls, and soon, the league was forced to address the issue publicly. As the controversy grew, attention turned to Teresa Weatherspoon. As a former Defensive Player of the Year, Weatherspoon was known for her toughness on the court, but there's a fine line between playing hard and playing dirty. Critics argued that Weatherspoon's coaching style encouraged overly aggressive play, and that she had failed to rein in her team's behavior on the court. Weatherspoon's inability to control her team was a red flag, particularly when it came to the targeting of Caitlin Clark. The WNBA, like any professional league, relies on its star players to drive viewership, ticket sales, and fan engagement. Allowing one of the league's brightest stars to be put in harm's way through overly physical play wasn't just a bad look for the Chicago Sky. It was a threat to the entire league's reputation. For the Chicago Sky, this issue likely played a significant role in the decision to fire Weatherspoon. While her team's poor record and the disconnect with players were certainly factors, the safety concerns surrounding Caitlin Clark and the Sky's aggressive play may have been the final straw. Weatherspoon's past as a hard-nosed player might have given her a blind spot when it came to policing physical play. In her mind, tough defense was a key part of the game. But in today's WNBA, player safety is a priority, and any coach who can't balance competitiveness with safety is going to find themselves in hot water.
She's meant everything to me. I mean,
love you, kiddo.
I've had amazing coaches in my career, but this one is like special. She understands with me off the court. She understands me on the court. She believes in me. Shots that I take that she wants me to take, she believes in me that I may not believe in myself. So being able to come to the league and feel at home, being able to be here. I remember sitting on the computer and talking to her.
When the news of Teresa Weatherspoon's firing broke, the reaction among players was mixed. Some, like Angel Reese, were devastated. Reese had a close relationship with Weatherspoon and had credited her for helping her transition to the WNBA. In a heartfelt social media post, Reese expressed her disappointment, writing, "I came to Chicago because of you." Reese's reaction highlights the complex dynamics within the Chicago Sky locker room. While some players felt deeply connected to Weatherspoon, others had grown frustrated with her coaching style and the team's lack of success. The firing exposed the rift that had been growing all season. Camila Cardoso, another young player on the team, had a more measured response. In interviews, she expressed disappointment with the way the season had unfolded, but remained focused on the future. Cardoso's development under Weatherspoon had been one of the few bright spots of the season, and now, with a new coach on the horizon, her future with the Sky is uncertain. Other players, especially those who felt sidelined or overshadowed by the stat padding controversy, were more quietly supportive of the move. For them, the firing represented a chance for a fresh start and a return to team-oriented basketball. Now that the dust has settled, the Chicago Sky find themselves at a crossroads. The firing of Teresa Weatherspoon has left the team searching for a new identity and a new direction. With young talent like Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese, the potential for success is still there, but the team will need a coach who can bring stability and unity back to the locker room. The next coach will have to address the internal issues that plagued the Sky this season. They'll need to rebuild trust with players, refocus the team on winning rather than individual accolades, and ensure that the physicality on the court doesn't cross the line into dangerous play. For the WNBA, the controversy surrounding the Chicago Sky serves as a cautionary tale. Protecting star players like Caitlin Clark is essential for the league's growth and success. The league will likely be keeping a close eye on the Sky's next move, ensuring that the team's conduct aligns with the values of fair play and player safety. The Chicago Sky's decision to fire Weatherspoon could signal a shift in the WNBA toward prioritizing player safety and team cohesion over individual achievements. As the Sky look to rebuild, they will need to find a coach who can not only develop young talent, but also foster a winning culture that puts the team first. Teresa Weatherspoon's firing was the culmination of a chaotic season for the Chicago Sky. From accusations of cheating through stat padding to concerns over the safety of players like Caitlin Clark, the season was marred by controversy at every turn. What was supposed to be a fresh start for the team turned into a year of disappointment and frustration. Now, the Sky must look ahead to the future. With a new coach on the horizon and young talent waiting to blossom, there's still hope for a turnaround, but one thing is clear. The team cannot afford another season like this. Whether they can right the ship remains to be seen, but for now, the focus is on repairing the damage and moving forward. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Stay tuned for more updates on this ongoing story. And as always, let us know what you think in the comments below.